Welcome back, everyone. I'm Steve Rich, the host with Sports Talk with RKJ, back with Justin D'Onofrio. And last night was the first college football rankings, the first time they've came out this year. And a little bit of a surprise at the top with Ohio State number 1, LSU number 2, Bama number 3, Penn State number 4, Clemson number 5, and Georgia number 6. We'll talk about the top 6. And the way I would have done it a little bit differently, I would have done it, I would have had LSU 1, Ohio State 2, Bama 3, Clemson 4, and Penn State 5. And I'm a Penn State fan, but one thing I do know is I'm taking a team quarterbacked by Trevor Lawrence over a team quarterbacked by Sean Clifford. Penn State's defense has been outstanding, but Clemson's been there. They've won 2 of the last 3 national championships. Penn State's had a great year, but I think Clemson is, even though it doesn't really matter that they're number 5 because they go undefeated and win the ACC, they're going to get into the playoff. I think there's no way Penn State should be ahead of Clemson. And then even LSU, Ohio State, I disagree with because LSU has 2 wins in the top 25, beating Auburn and beating Florida, and then going to Texas and winning as well. When Ohio State only has 1 win against any team, against teams in the top 25, crushed. Even though it was a big win, they crushed Wisconsin. I think LSU has been a little bit more impressive this year. I would have had them as the number 1 team. So, what are your reactions? We'll start with the top 6. What's your reaction to the top 6?
My reaction, and I don't mind it actually. Going into it, I actually had Ohio State 1. I'll go into it after, but I had Ohio State 1, LSU 2, Alabama 3. I did have Clemson 4, 5 Penn State, 6 Georgia, and I thought Ohio State should be 1. I know they don't have that. I know they have Wisconsin at home. But to the eye test, and if the committee says the best 4 teams, Ohio State's been the best team on the field all season. They have just absolutely destroyed everybody. And I know Wisconsin, they got that one. But technically, when they played Michigan State, they were so ranked. Cincinnati now is in the top 20 right now, too, in the playoff ranking. So that Cincinnati win looks good for Ohio State in the way they beat them, technically. That looks like a big win. And, yeah, for LSU, they've knocked off 3 top 10 opponents when they're 3 top 25 opponents. They knocked off Texas on the road. They knocked off Auburn. They've knocked off Florida. So, yeah, LSU's played the best schedule. So, I guess I wouldn't have had an issue with either or of them being 1, but I felt like Ohio State should be the 1 because they've been the best team on the field. LSU's played well. They got out to that slow start last week against Auburn. Alabama, of course, sitting right there at 3. Fine with it. They've been excellent all year, offensively, defensively. Not the same Nick, they're still great defensively, but it's not the same Nick Saban dominant defense. Penn State's been great this year. That defense is just, I wouldn't say carry, but that defense has been unbelievable. One of the top defenses in the entire country. And then that one game I know people are talking about with Pittsburgh. Wasn't that game like a rainy, windy? Really rainy, yeah. Didn't they have like a delay too for thunderstorms?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Like people are throwing out the Georgia-Kentucky game, but let's just throw out that game. It was just a sloppy fest. It's going to happen when you have a game like that. And I didn't think the committee was going to pull the trigger on Clemson 5, but they did. And I think that huge North Carolina game where they held on for dear life, they, on that terrible read option or that option call by Mac Brown, the triple option call, saved Clemson. And they have Texas A&M, but Texas A&M could be a 4-loss team by the end of the season because they still got to play Georgia and LSU. So that could come really, that could not, Clemson's best win right now, but they have Wake Forest next week at home. That's probably going to be their best win of the year. That's probably going to have to be their signature win, even though it may not be that signature of a win because it's Wake Forest. And then Georgia's 6. And then I know I said this on the regular show. Oregon has a better loss than Georgia due to Georgia lost South Carolina. Oregon lost Auburn, a neutral site. But the thing is, Oregon doesn't have that signature win, and Georgia does now that they beat Florida. And they still have Auburn, and they beat Notre Dame. I know Notre Dame's kind of struggled, so they have that for them. And Oregon doesn't have that. Washington's down. They went on the road, beat Washington, but that that Auburn game really hurts the Ducks. And I think the good thing is they're still sitting there at 11 at Auburn, so it's it's a good win. But I don't really mind the top 10 right now.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll talk about Oregon, Utah, and Oklahoma. Do those three teams? I think Oregon has the best shot because they're undefeated in the Pac-12. Do any of those three teams have a chance to make the playoff?
Yeah, I think all three of those do. Oregon runs the table. They'd probably face Utah. They would hope that Utah and Oregon meet in a collision course because their last three, Arizona at home, not a very good team. Herm Edwards, Arizona State Sun Devils have been up and down. And then you got the Civil War against Oregon State, and they should beat Oregon State. Then you hope for the Pac. The Pac-12 is hoping Oregon and Utah meet in the Pac-12 because that's the only shot they have to get in. I think they can sneak in with some help. And of course it's going to play out. Ohio State, Penn State have to play. Ohio State, Penn State may have to play in the Big Ten.
So it's really going to have... No, they won't play in the Big Ten.
Well, I mean, like one of them's going to play.
Yeah. So, it's going to definitely work out for Clemson because they're going to get in regard. Even though the number 5 team, if they go undefeated and win the ACC, they're going to get in regardless. Who knows what seed they're going to be, but they're going to get in regardless. Oh,
yeah. Because then now it's the best thing for Clemson. Now Dabo Swinney they're going to have a lot of momentum, right? Angry. I think Dabo's going to have them really ready to play Saturday night. And for Utah... I think, they went on the road and lost USC. And usually USC's like, okay, it's USC on the road going to the Coliseum. It's always, but it's not the same USC team. It's not a terrible loss. It's a win they probably should have gotten. The team they should have probably beaten. They didn't. They still have a shot. I think the winner still does a chance. Oklahoma, I know Texas, that win's not looking great anymore. But this is their schedule coming up. They got a good Iowa State team. Iowa State's a team they cannot take lightly. They got to go to Waco. TCU's a decent team if they can get healthy. And then Oklahoma State is 23rd ranked in the country. They have to go on the road to Oklahoma State. If Oklahoma State can kind of go in and they win their last couple, Oklahoma State's going to move up in the ranking as well. So and then it's kind of who gets in the Big 12. I think they need a little bit more help with that, even though Kansas State now is ranked 16th, so I wouldn't consider it a bad loss. So I think all three of those teams have a shot, but I think Oregon definitely has the best track record, or best chance to get in out of those three. It's going to be tough for those three, any one of those three to get in, but Oregon definitely has the best chance to get in.
So we look at the two teams who are undefeated, outside of the top 10 who are undefeated, with Baylor and Minnesota. And you look at Baylor, what is the chances that Baylor has to win the Big 12? I don't think they're great because they still have to play Oklahoma and Texas. What are their chances to win the Big 12?
It's slim. Now, they have Texas and Oklahoma back-to-back week, both at home. If they can split, like if they can get Texas, they're in the Big 12 championship game. So then you get Oklahoma in Jerry's world. And I don't know how far that is from Waco, but maybe you get some fan. Maybe they can pull off an upset against Oklahoma, and maybe. But I think Baylor would have to go undefeated though. I think they would have to go undefeated to get in. I think even losing Oklahoma, maybe close, would not get them in because I think it'd be really tough. Now, the only shot for Minnesota too is they, They're big.
They have a chance to win the West, but they haven't. They've been convincing in their wins. They really haven't played anyone. And the thing is, they still have to play. Obviously, Penn State this week. You got they still got to go to Iowa. They have to go to Iowa, and they host Wisconsin.
Yep.
Host Wisconsin. So those are going to be huge games in terms of them winning the Big Ten West. I haven't seen Minnesota this year. I haven't really paid attention to Minnesota. I kind of thought at the beginning of the year this was a team that had no chance. Do you think they have a shot to win the Big Ten West?
I think they do. And I don't know if they're going to be able to get on. I don't know if they'll be able to win. I didn't pick them to win Saturday. I think if they can go to Iowa and get the win, which I think is very possible with their defense, they're ranked 13th right now in the country. I think they can go to Iowa and win. And I think they can. And if they go to Iowa and win, they knocked off Wisconsin last year to end the season. So they went to Madison last year and knocked them off in Camp Randall. I think they could do it again. And then if I don't think they'd be able to beat Ohio State. Now, this was an interesting scenario I heard this morning on driving in, is that if they do lose to Penn State, and the Penn State runs the table beating Ohio State, Minnesota runs the table, Penn State runs the table after Minnesota loses to Penn State Saturday. And they meet in the Big Ten championship game, Minnesota-Penn State, and Minnesota knocks them off. Someone was saying, would Minnesota get in then? Because they technically avenged their loss to Penn State. That'd be an interesting scenario. But I think their best shot for Minnesota is to run the table. They got to beat everybody. I don't know if they're going to beat Penn State. I think Ohio State's a little bit better than Penn State right now. And I think so. I would think Minnesota gets 2 losses. But it'd be a great story. I would love to see Minnesota run the table. I love PJ Fleck as a coach. They just locked him up to a 7-year extension yesterday. Great for him. The row the boat slogan's still working. But it's tough for Minnesota to get in because the committee doesn't respect them, as we see at 17. I've seen them play their first 4 games. They pulled out close victories. The last 4, they've been very convincing. I know Nebraska, I was high on this. I thought they'd win the Big Ten West. That's not happening. They went there, and they won by 30. Purdue's not great. Illinois, Lovie Smith team looks decent. Rutgers, they beat Maryland after 2 weeks. Looked like they could be something, but they're not. So, yeah, if they can get through Penn, it's tough. And I think they lose Saturday. Their chances are pretty much wrapped up. I think they would have to see Penn State again in the Big Ten championship game, and I still think that would be tough to get them in.
All right, we're going to wrap up the show doing what our top 10 will look like next week after the games are being played. And I'm going to give a prediction how my top 10 is going to look. I'm going to have Alabama because they beat LSU. I'm going to have them number 1. I'm going to have Ohio State number 2, LSU number 3, Penn State number 4, Georgia number 5. Clemson number 5, Georgia number 6. Oregon number 7, Utah number 8, Oklahoma 9, and Florida 10. So pretty much it's just going to be Ohio State, Bama, and Ohio State, LSU, and Bama flipped around. Bama at 1, Ohio State at 2, and LSU at 3. Because I think the Bama LSU winner is going to be the number 1 team in the country, no matter what. I think the committee is going to make that winner the number one team, no matter what happens. And so that's why I think the top 3 teams are flipped around. But outside of that, I have everything pretty much standing pat because I got Minnesota beating Penn State this week.
I got the same thing as you, the Alabama LSU winner, and I think it's going to be Alabama. So I got Alabama 1. I got Ohio State sitting there number 2. I do have Penn State moving up to 3 because I feel like if they beat Minnesota, close, tightly game, I feel like, and I know Alabama LSU loser. I think it depends on how how the loser does. I would not be surprised because Penn State's still undefeated, and I know they don't respect Minnesota a lot right now, but I would not be surprised to see Penn State move 3, so I'll move Penn State 3. I'll move LSU 4. Clemson 5, Georgia 6, Oregon 7. I'm going to say, I would not be surprised, depending on how Oklahoma wins, if they swap with Utah, because Iowa State's a better opponent. And actually, Utah's off this week, so I would not be surprised maybe they flip-flop. And then, I have Florida right there at 10. They're playing Vandy, so they should be fine. So I'm pretty much the same with you. I'll just, throw Utah, Oklahoma swap. Out there, maybe it's a possibility, depending on how Oklahoma does into Iowa State.
Yeah, you have Penn State at 3, right?
Yep, Penn State at 3.
Yeah. So that's going to wrap up our college football rankings reaction show this week. We'll be back next week. We'll be back every week doing the show until the playoffs are released, and then obviously the next Monday we'll try to do a wrap-up show and a preview of the college football playoff. So we want to thank you for listening to this show, our college football preview, our college basketball preview today, and our normal show, Sports Talk with RKJ. And obviously we'll be back next week doing that Sports Talk with RKJ show. Next Wednesday, probably next Wednesday, doing that show. We'll obviously be back doing the college football reaction show, and be on the lookout tomorrow. I'll be doing my week 10 preview of the NFL. So thank you for listening all day to our shows, and have a great weekend, everybody.